Hello, you're listening to E-Bible Fellowship's new Open Forum Excerpts, and now we present the following excerpt.
Welcome to our program. Please go ahead with your call.
Hi, Chris. Could you please explain Mark 7, verse 11?
Mark 7:11. Well, start in verse 10. For Moses said, Honor thy father and thy mother, and whoso curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But ye say, if a man shall say to his father or mother, it is Corban, that is to say, a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, he shall be free, and ye shall suffer him no more to do aught for his father or his mother, making the word of God of none effect through your tradition, which ye have delivered, and many such like things do ye. So you just one explanation of verse 11?
Please.
Okay. Well, first of all, the commandment of God, the law of God, and this is the point. I really should have probably started in verse 7. I'll read verses 7 and 8. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. For laying aside the commandment of God, ye hold the tradition of men, as the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things ye do. Full well, verse 9, ye reject the commandment of God that ye may keep your own tradition. For Moses said, Honor thy father and thy mother, and whoso curseth father or mother, let him die the death. So the commandment of God in law, Moses is being used as a reference to the law. The commandment of God to honor one's father and mother, really, it never ceases to be applicable. There's never a point where a child, a son or a daughter, can say, well, my parents are such an age, I no longer have to honor them. No, children are to honor their parents. And so what the Jews did, they developed a tradition. And in this tradition, they call it Corban, and that is to say, a gift. By whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, he shall be free, and ye shall suffer him no more to do aught for his father or his mother. Apparently, a son would get together a nice gift. We're not given details of the gift, maybe a certain amount of money. And he would give it to his father, give it to his mother, and that would be it. Okay, all right. I have satisfied the law. I have honored my mother, my father. They have received this wonderful gift, Corban, from me. And now I don't have to do anything more for them. And that's what God is faulting them for. Ye suffer him no more to do aught for his father or his mother, making the word of God of none effect through your tradition. And this is the problem. Well, it was the problem with Israel in relationship to their response to the word of God, the laws of God, the Bible. And it's a problem with the churches and congregations regarding their response to the laws of God, the Bible. Now, the Jews were very much out front, bold in their writings of men, the traditions of the fathers of Israel. They have their own system of writing, and I guess so do the churches with theologians' commentaries and everything, confessions and creeds. So it's basically the same. But the Jews, they give tremendous weight and authority to these rabbis, to these men who develop these traditions, and they think it's on par with the Word of God, the Bible, and superior. And that's God's point. In this passage, my law says honor your father and mother. It doesn't say anything about a gift. Give a one-time gift and you're free from the duty of a son or a daughter, the duty of a child to parent. Bible doesn't say that. That's out of the vain imagination of the religious minds of men or the minds of religious men. And so the churches, they have their confessions and creeds, and in the Westminster Confession of Faith, which is highly regarded in Reformed circles, oh, they have in there the exception when it comes to marriage and divorce, except for fornication, And it was, for much of the church age, it was something written in a confession that wasn't utilized, but at the time of the end, when God's giving up the church and they're falling away, going apostate, they grab hold of the statement in the confession and, oh, we can have divorce only for fornication. Oh, yes, we wouldn't divorce for any other reason. No, that's how it started out, I remember Mr. Camping saying, I have no personal experience with the church when it was really faithful. I started listening to family radio in 1987, and maybe by the January 1987, maybe by the end of that year, I went to church for practically the first time. I had visited a Catholic church once and maybe went, for funerals and that kind of thing. But for the first time at the end of 1987, well, May 21, 1988, the church age is over. So my personal experience with the church, I don't know, but Mr. Camping was, deeply involved with the church for many decades, and he testified, and I'm sure it was correct, that there wasn't divorce in the churches and congregations. It was a rarity if you ever met anyone who was divorced. And so as we got closer to the end of the church age and God gave them up and finally turned the church over to Satan, well, these things that started out as rare exceptions, and the church would seriously consider the case. Is this a matter of fornication? And even they're wrong about that. They're wrong about that. There's, according to the Bible, there's not to be divorce for any reason. What God has joined together, man is not to put asunder. And so, it finally Pandora's box, or something that is very understandable to me, the edge of the wedge. This is what man always wants. Just give me this allowance. I don't want the rest. I don't want everything. I want this little thing. I want this exception. Just give me this exception. And the church comes along, it's building their confession. Okay, you have the exception. Then you get the edge, there's a little crack now, the edge of the wedge in the crack, and down comes the hammer and splits the thing wide open. And so now, do people in churches just divorce for fornication, or do they divorce because they woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or, they're in a bad mood? Well, I think it's more towards that. That is divorce for any reason whatsoever, which is unbiblical, completely unbiblical, even in the eyes of their own tradition, because that's not the teaching of God. The teaching of God is no divorce for anything. And this is the nature of men. They want to substitute their doctrine, their understanding, over the true doctrine and understanding of the Bible. And just think of Isaiah chapter 4, the 7 women who represent the 7 churches, and they want to eat their own bread and they want to wear their own apparel. Just let us be called by thy name. And that's the nature of the natural-minded individual, whether a Jew in the Old Testament, who were the people of God at that time, or a Christian, professed Christian of the New Testament, who were the people of God for their time that is now ended.
Thanks for watching, and be on the lookout for more new Open Forum excerpts that will be added periodically.